7 years ago, a project was born. 7 years later, that project is still ongoing. Once upon a time, this project was called in prototype Ocarina of Time 2, but now, today, it has a name. This project is called the Glass of Fate. Some things have changed about this project, whereas other things have not. So let's first go over what hasn't changed. The story, just like previously planned, will take place 4 years into the future from the ending of Ocarina of Time, which means that Link in this story's timeline will be 14 years old. As for the other story details, a war will still be taking place. There will be a battle outside of the gates of Hyrule Castle Town that will be waging. The streets of Market Town will be in ruins, and there will be all sorts of commotion going on at the castle and Castle Town itself. The game is still planned to be completely low poly in the style and tradition of Nintendo 64 Zelda games. And as of right now, the game is still being solely developed by yours truly, Hajile Cave. That pretty much concludes all the things that haven't changed about the game. What has changed is pretty much everything else. It was originally planned to be done in Unreal Engine, but now development has completely moved into Godot 4. As I've been developing this game over the years, it quickly became apparent just how heavy Unreal Engine was going to be as an engine to use. And even though I had the equipment to use Unreal Engine, that doesn't mean that anybody else can. Which means that if I wanted to add developers later, they would have to have at minimum a high-end PC. And if anybody wanted to play it, that was an entirely different story. For some developers, that might not be a problem, but for me, accessibility is top priority. Making sure as many people can play the game as possible is important to me. And if possible, I want even people with the worst PCs ever to be able to enjoy the game to some extent. That's why Godot was chosen for this project in particular because 1, it's free, 2, it's extremely easy to use, and 3, it's extremely low end, even more than Unity. As for the character models themselves, they'll need their own dedicated video to explain just everything that changed about them and why. However, because he's so important, I will briefly touch upon Link, but not for too long because there's a lot that's changed about him. The main change is that his model has been completely overhauled and now he has significantly less geometry than he did before, making him a lot closer to his original counterpart in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Gone are the individual fingers, and hello to the mitten hands again. The original plan was to go for something a little bit more high fidelity, but I realized very quickly how much easier it would be to just lift the original textures themselves and implement them into my workflow. In order to do that, the high fidelity Link had to go, and I had to recreate something a little bit more closer to the original Nintendo 64 games. Otherwise, there would have been a major style clash and he would not have fit in with his world whatsoever. When I started developing this fan game, I was not good at textures. In fact, I would say I was actually pretty bad at textures. However, a couple hundred hours of development into this thing, and I can pretty confidently say that I'm actually pretty good at recreating that style now. In fact, I would argue that there are a lot of techniques and tricks that I've learned that a lot of people probably don't even know or have even thought to use. For example, you would just think, make something that looks low quality and just slap it on and call it a day, but it's actually more complicated than that because the original textures used in the Nintendo 64 games were actually high fidelity images that were actually photographs. This doesn't just apply for the Zelda 64 games, but even for the first games like Super Mario 64. And doing that with a 64 by 64 pixel canvas to work with is just not viable. So the next thing you would think is, oh, I'll just take real images and just compress them down to 64 by 64 pixels, but then it looks like crap. And that's not because the images that were originally used are low quality, it's just because of the fact that it was the kind of images that they were using. You see, the kind of images that they were using with Nintendo 64 games and compressing them down to 64 by 64 pixels had a lot of macro detail, whereas the photos that we use nowadays in AAA game development have a lot of micro detail. Macro detail, whenever you compress it down, doesn't lose that detail, but micro details completely get lost because a lot of micro detail in the images themselves are pretty much like tens of pixels wide. And there's a lot more that I can say about that process, but it's completely outside the scope of this devlog. So now let me talk about the locations a bit. Just like previously planned, the locations are going to be bigger and they're going to be expanded. Much hasn't changed, and in fact, as development has gone on, it has even become a major focus of the development of this fan game itself. A lot of fan games like to go into adding a bunch of new locations, but I don't like to ride that way. I like to see what we can do with the originals, expand them, and make them feel bigger and more immersive than they may have been previously. For example, the graveyard. It's pretty much the exact same thing. However, I have expanded it to be a little bit bigger just to mess with everybody's spatial memory. So when someone comes into the graveyard, they're gonna be like, oh, it's the exact same. But then as they walk around, they're gonna be like, why does this feel a little bit different? It feels a little bit bigger than it was previously. And that's because it will be. One of the original plans was to take a Breath of the Wild open world approach with the game and make basically every area, every wall scalable and like make the map as open as possible, but that had to be slightly scaled back for time reasons. Everything will still be really expanded compared to the original game, but not quite in a Breath of the Wild way. There are a lot of areas that I haven't even started on because of the fact that I'm trying to rush out a demo as soon as I can by the end of the year and possibly by June itself. Why June? Because of F3, of course. What is F3? It's something brand new that's popped up during the years I've been developing this thing. And the guy who runs the show is all about that Zelda 64 ROM hack scene. While I'm not going to have anything close to like a prototype of what the game will look like, I'm pretty sure I'll be done by June with something that'll at least be playable. And at the very least, I'll have a trailer done that will show you exactly what the demo at the end of the year will probably look like. While what I'll be releasing in June will be a prototype of sorts, the official demo in December will contain the prologue for the game's story, including the first dungeon. While I can't promise that every feature will be available in the game right out the gate, I can promise that the game will feel solid. A lot of corners are being cut for now, but that is solely for the sake of getting a demo out sooner rather than later. Honestly, it's been long enough. You all deserve to have a playable version of this thing, so that's exactly what I plan to give you. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the devlog, and just so you know, I have a Patreon now, and if you want to join that, you get to watch all of my videos earlier than everyone else on YouTube. Right now I'm currently a month ahead in schedule, but if I ever fall behind again, it's going to be about 2 weeks before everybody else gets to watch on YouTube. Once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.